Welcome to Next of Kin, the Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Emma. I'm a British expat living in Dubai, UAE, with my partner and baby girl. Join me on my expat motherhood journey. I'll be discussing different topics each week and we'll be joined by some wonderful guests. Now, if you're a mum, you're short on time, so let's jump right in. Today's show is being recorded at the end of September, and my daughter's birthday is at the start of October, so I want to do a roundup and reflect on the craziest year of my life. In fact, the last few years have just been insane. I mean, COVID, what the hell was that? Then moving to Dubai, getting pregnant, but really this last year has just tipped everything upside down, and of course I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, the sleep, the feed, you know what I would change, but I wouldn't have my little daughter any other way. So let's get into how I found the first year of being a mum. Before we do, I know a few of you would like a bit of a business update. I am launching Next of Kin, the brand, which will be a baby clothing brand. This will be pulling on my fashion buying experience, but mainly the gap in the market that I saw as a mum and that other mums mentioned to me as well. So the due date for the brand, and yes, I am using due date because much like a baby, things will come up. And so I guess it'll be born when it's truly ready. But the due date for the brand is 10th of October. If you want to know more, then go and sign up to my mailing list on nextofkin.ae. That way you'll get an email straight into your inbox with a cheeky little discount code on launch day. Don't worry, this isn't going to turn into a podcast advertising the brand. I'm planning to do a bonus episode to introduce you to the brand, tell you the story, because I know a lot of you are following for that sort of mompreneurial content. And I did actually go back and forth on whether to separate the brand's Instagram page and the podcast page, as well as the website as well. But I think I want to keep it together under sort of like a Next of Kin family umbrella, mainly because I don't have the mental capacity right now to run two social medias. Maybe I'll separate them in future, I don't know, but I think I like them together. So it's all busy over the next few weeks. I'm not booking much in the way of classes and things like that with Bonnie. It's more just like time to buckle down and getting tasks done that I'd put off as well, because it's got to get done. It's got to get done before we launch, and then it'll be worth it. In my head, I kind of feel like I'm seeing launch day as the day I can then sit down and breathe, which I know is so stupid. I'll be so anxious checking to see if I get any orders. And then I'll fully be on this like brand owner roller coaster. So I'm hoping I'll be needing to get working on new season stock, reorders, marketing, all of that. But the goal for now is just to launch. So maybe I should actually book in some fun mummy baby classes for that week and keep myself distracted and give myself a little reward, get back to prioritizing Bonnie. But yeah, maybe I'll do that. Anyway, back to motherhood. Let's get onto the real topic for today's show. So a few questions I want to answer for you in this episode. Am I the mum I thought I would be? What has surprised me? How have I changed as a person from who I was this time last year? Let me think back to that moment that Bonnie was actually born. All through my labour, my mum instinct had already kicked in, I would say. I knew that she was all right. There were times where we thought maybe we needed to speed things up, all of that sort of thing. But I knew she was fine. She came out. She wasn't crying to start with. But again, I knew she was absolutely fine. And when she did start crying, she did not stop. I looked into her eyes and I knew that this was not a timid little gentle baby. Bonnie was going to be a force. She was about to flip my life upside down. I knew it in that moment and I was right. The first big shock came when she basically just latched herself onto the boob. She's been obsessed and so greedy ever since. I'm so sorry, Bon, if you ever listen back to this, but literally your mum has been through it with the breastfeeding with you. Then the next shock, which made me realise that all that time I'd spent preparing to become a mum, and I don't just mean like all the advice and tips during pregnancy that I'd really keenly soaked up. I mean, my whole life, I had always wanted to be a mum, and so I had been preparing mentally like forever. I would even remember things from when my own brothers were little. So I confidently used all my best tips to get her off to sleep that night. And then I placed her in that sort of clear plastic bucket of a hospital crib and then thought, right, we can all go to bed for the night. I start to walk away. I'm about to hand out advice to Rich on how to successfully transfer a baby to the crib, the expert that I am, when she wakes up and makes it known that she is not going into that cot. So that was such an anxious night for me. Oh my God. The one thing I had said, I remember telling my mum that the one thing I would not be doing is co-sleeping. And then less than a day old, there she is. I'd broken my one rule. And she, to be fair to my mum, she reminded me that I may have read all the baby books, but Bonnie had not read those baby books. So she had no plans to be a textbook baby. Then the next day, she basically screamed the place down. If anyone other than me tried to come near her, she would just scream. I actually have a photo where she looks so beautiful and content. She's almost smiling as she's wrapped up in just a blanket and a nappy. And she's like nuzzled up to me, and she's basically got exactly what she wants. No clothes, just to snuggle her mum. And the newborn phase was honestly, it was beautiful, hormonal, sleep-deprived blur. I wasn't necessarily sleep-deprived because of the baby waking. Like, she did do that, obviously. And at that stage, it takes ages to like feed them back to sleep in the newborn phase. But you also just cannot switch off. You're there staring at your baby thinking, oh my actual God, I literally had a baby. You think, how is the world around me still spinning? Like, this is huge. And obviously you can't take your eyes off them. That newborn phase, I would say for the first 10 weeks, it was amazing. I'm not saying it wasn't hard. I got really ill actually at one point. The breastfeeding was insane. Bonnie started refusing a bottle in that time as well, but we got into our groove and she barely cried because I had it down. But then at 10 weeks exactly, she woke up and she decided she was going to change it up. So that's another learning. These phases do not last. Never get cocky. Mums never get cocky. As soon as you do that, they're going to change it up. The crying was back. It was back on the agenda with force. And honestly, I don't think she was keen on being little. From the day she was born, everyone was always commenting on how alert she was, how strong she was. Actually, mainly they would comment about her being super cute, which is also very true. I know I'm biased. And people always say to us, she looks like a doll. She looks like a doll. That's what we always get. But back to saying that she was strong, she was literally holding her head up from as soon as she was born and always really alert, which did mean that she was not going to chill. No bassinet, no car seat, no pram. I actually feel now that mums, especially pregnant mums to be, those first time mums, are a little bit preyed upon by the marketeers when you're pregnant. Because of course you have all this time to do all your research. You care so deeply, like this is a new level of love. You want the very best for your child. But we don't need this stuff. Like there's too much stuff. There's too much stuff that we're told is must-haves. The phrase must-haves, honestly, even I would have said before that must-haves are as bare as a cot and a pram. And they're two things that weren't even must-haves, a cot and a pram. We didn't even need a cot and a pram, which is mad. Absolutely mad to me, mind-blowing. And I am so glad that I did not buy a really expensive pram because she still to this day doesn't really want to go in it. I've been told that some babies are like that and then they change over a year. So actually I have no idea where the pram is. We haven't sold it yet. I think it's in a cupboard somewhere, but we won't get rid of it right yet. And I still have the cot in the corner of the room that's just full of stuff. She did go in a cot till about 12 weeks. I think that was when it changed. Yeah, around the 3-month mark. She went into her next to me. But since then, yeah, no. So there's a lot of stuff that we're marketed to and you want to have the best. There's stuff that you straight up don't need. And there's stuff that's marketed to you as must-haves in the newborn period. So I would say one thing is like a baby bath support. If you have towels and you have a lot of towels, you can literally just make a little cocoon for your baby in a bath or a sink. because that bath support is going to get used for all of about like weeks. There's so many newborn things that are just used for weeks, and it seems so pointless to have all this stuff. So yeah, big learning there, and something that I would tell to all my pregnant friends. Don't necessarily buy the stuff. Do your research. I know pregnant people, you want to do your research. I'm not going to take that away from you. It's fun for a lot of people. So do it, but don't necessarily buy. Or if you are going to buy, also, like, we're in a world where we can get everything like same day, next day. So know what you want to buy. If you need it, great. For us, we hadn't actually bought a next to me crib at all. We'd just bought this one cot that has basically never been used because I said that was my one thing. Like, I wasn't going to be co-sleeping. I wouldn't even need a next to me. Turns out in the hospital, we ordered a next to me to be delivered by the time we got home. So we put that up the night we got back. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, aren't I? But if there are things that in your ideal vision of what you feel like you want when you're a mum, for me, that was a Baby Bjorn bouncer. That also didn't get used. A Docker tot. That didn't get used. But I bought these things secondhand. So that's the tip I'm trying to get around to here, is that buy them secondhand. In my vision as well, I was going to rock on a rocking chair whilst I was feeding. And that I was right about. And we did get a secondhand. And actually, I'm sat here right now recording this podcast. I love this rocking chair. So yeah, especially if you're a mum in Dubai right now, there's going to be so much secondhand stuff that probably hasn't even been used. People move quickly. There's a lot out there. So definitely utilize secondhand market. And whilst we're on the, I guess, subject of giving advice, and I am going to give so much advice in this episode probably because it's just part of my experience and what I found. But the other thing that I learned so quickly is that I also have no advice to give at all because babies are all so different. And perhaps once a baby is born, you know their personality. You can then decide which advice is going to be tailored more towards your personality and your baby's personality. But I guess what I'm trying to say is don't set yourself up for failure. Don't have such high expectations. Or for example, like the co-sleeping thing with me, I did feel like a failure when I could not physically get her to stay in a cot. And so I wish now that I hadn't set that expectation for myself. Something that really has got us through the last year is humour and laughter, because it's definitely the best reaction for when your baby is absolutely kicking off and pushing you to the absolute limits. You've just got to laugh. Honestly, the sheer audacity of this child to kick off in this way. And it's definitely one of Rich's strengths I have to give to him, because there have been times that I think, had I been with a different kind of partner, I don't know, that I might have felt pushed to the limits and they might have felt pushed to the limits and we could have just crumbled completely. But instead I would look at him and he would just burst out laughing like, can you believe this child? So really I would say that that was 100% one of his strengths. So back to the 3-month mark, this was kind of around when we travelled back for the first time to the UK. And it was Christmas time. So the realization at that point was that we are now the ones who set the traditions. Like, I am Santa. I am the tooth fairy. On Christmas Eve, when we put out the carrot for the reindeer and the glass of milk for Santa and the mince pie, and then having to turn to Rich and say, right, okay, so you need to go and eat that. Like, that was like such a weird moment for us both, that we are genuine adults and like a family now, and we need to be the ones that come up with the traditions. It's why I asked as one of my mum lemmas to hear about other people's traditions, especially around the first birthday, because obviously we pull on our own experiences, but it's really nice to now create our own. We don't have to just stick to what our families did. And with that, I guess there's the realization that this is someone's childhood. And that does dawn on me now and again. I asked Rich and I don't think he really got it. But when I think about things like one day when we move house, obviously at the moment she's just kind of in our room. But at one point we're going to make a bedroom which is her childhood bedroom. And she'll think back about that being her childhood bedroom. And it's something I think about in relation to us being in Dubai as well, because this is her childhood that's going to be in Dubai. And yeah, it's a really like surreal thing to think about. Now let's take a step back, I guess, to what I was saying about Bonnie not having much chill and not wanting to just be put down. In fact, she's very much a Velcro baby, a koala baby. Like, she wants to be attached to me and she wants that comfort. And so learning that I am, in fact, her safety blanket, I don't think I'd really thought about that before. And it's obviously a big responsibility, but I was listening to a Happy Mum, Happy Baby podcast the other day, the one with Camille, and she said that her mum had told her that she is the mum, and that's kind of the be all and end all, and the buck stops with you. And it's very true. I think we have a modern idea of parenting that it's going to be much more 50-50. And it's definitely the ideal that me and all my friends that I've spoken to have had in mind when we were pregnant, that our partners would be up doing night feeds with us and that kind of thing. And actually, that's not how it worked out, because really the baby often just wants you. And that's quite a common experience, to be honest. So as much as we want to be 50-50, I am the mum, and if no one else can settle her, you can probably hand her back over to me and I can settle her. It's quite a scary realization that the buck does stop with you, and that if Rich can't settle her or someone else can't settle her, like, I am the mum. You know, I've got to be the one that can figure this all out at the end of the day. So yeah, being someone's safety blanket and that huge responsibility of being a mum definitely dawned on me at that early age, before like the 3-month mark. Something that people told me was that from when they're born, it just gets better and better. And then at 6 weeks, at 12 weeks, it just goes up and up from then. And actually, that's not been my experience. As I said, I felt like I had it down. And then 10 weeks old, she wakes up and decided to change it up and be really quite fussy and not really enjoy being little, probably until she could crawl and she had a bit of independence. Despite being a koala baby, I wouldn't say that's because she's not independent at all. She's actually really independent, and I think that's why she needs me a lot. She needs that safety blanket. She's so switched on all the time that she needs to come to me for that comfort. So what I think I'm trying to say here is that I haven't found that they're suddenly just like a 6 weeks, they start becoming way easier, and that your experience is going to be really different to everyone else's, because everyone told me that newborn period was really hard, but don't worry, when you get to 6 weeks and then when you get to 12 weeks, it's so much easier. And I haven't found that. I found complete peaks and troughs. I mean, I do have what's that app that has the leaps? Yeah, I do have that. Still, I don't really find that she follows that. She is a little person by herself, and she is going to have days where she's fussy, or weeks where she's fussy, and other weeks that she's not. And it's going to go up and down the whole time, as it should be. Like, she's her own person, you know? So am I the mum that I thought I would be whilst I was pregnant? And yes, in the way that I thought I'd be really connected to Bonnie. And actually, I am very, very connected to her. So that is something that is true, but mainly no. I thought that I would be more of a kind of like cry it out, sleep training, that kind of mum. But instead, I'm very intuitive about knowing what Bonnie needs. So that connection with Bonnie, I think I'm going to be a little bit less strict as a mum. I don't know. Let's see what she's like when she's older. But I think because I feel so connected to Bonnie, I do find it hard to ever like let her cry or anything like that. So yeah, I've ended up being way more of a co-sleeping parent than a sleep training parent that I thought I would be. And how have I changed in the last year? I mean, seriously, did I think that I was going to be sat here with a company, with next of kin, with a brand about to launch, here recording a podcast a year ago. Like, no, absolutely not. I did know that buying might be difficult as a mum. I had figured that out because I obviously saw how much I travelled. But I've worked really hard to get to that point in my career. I hadn't even been in that job for that long, and I'd really worked up to it. It was completely a dream job for me, so I wasn't quite prepared to just pack it in. I was just going to try and take my time to go back to the role. But I think I'm going to look back at some point, hopefully, and say that everything happened for a reason. The reason that I did get such a, let's say clingy, let's throw out clingy, such a clingy baby who wouldn't take a bottle and who would only sleep with me. The reason I got that is because it was going to force me to quit my job. I physically couldn't do it. At one point, when I did try and go back to work, I was having to take Bonnie with a nanny with me to work. They would have to chill out and just do their thing, walking about outside, and come to me every sort of hour and a half, 2 hours to feed her, which obviously is not sustainable when you've got meetings and things like that going on, and especially because it was about to get hot, so they couldn't, it just wouldn't work. But yeah, hopefully I'm about to look back and it's going to be such a turning point. Another thing I guess that I had no idea about was this term matrescence. I really need to read this book on matrescence, but I didn't realize how much my brain would change, and that things that were important to me before wouldn't be now, or that I wouldn't really have time for myself as much. I mean, I'm here looking at my nails. I sort of said goodbye to my nail person when I was 39 weeks pregnant and got a full set done for delivery. And I was like, cool, see you when I've got a baby. Yeah, I've never been back. Like, she's been left hanging, like things like that. I don't really have time for myself at the moment. And I just don't really think about either. I mean, that's a really trivial example for you, to be honest. But your brain, like the neurons and everything and how it works, really changes. Also with breastfeeding and just, the sleep deprivation, I have time for Bonnie. I have time for, I guess, next of kin. This is a real passion of mine at the moment, and I'm very lucky that I'm turning that into hopefully a career for me. Like, fingers crossed. I feel silly saying all of this before I've even launched and been able to make money. But brain power wise, I don't have much left for anything else, and so I feel kind of grateful that I'm in Dubai and I'm not expected to be doing things with a lot of my friends that are back home or family, or even going out in the evening. Like, it's been absolutely fine that I go to bed with Bonnie because I've not been expected to do anything in the evenings. This podcast as well has brought me the pleasure of speaking to so many women who just wouldn't have even been on my radar, and they're such brilliant, inspiring women. And hopefully at some point I will have men on the podcast too. But for now, I've really spoken to these women that just completely wouldn't have been on my radar, and they've been such a fantastic support to me as well. I have learned so much from this podcast. So with Bonnie's birthday coming up, I am obviously emotional. She's already took her first step. She's not properly walking. We did buy her first pair of shoes. She decided that she doesn't want to be carried around the mall or anything like that anymore, which is actually a bit of a nightmare because, yeah, she won't go in a pram, but she doesn't want to be carried. She literally wants to crawl around a mall or try and walk. So we decided it was time to get her first pair of shoes. So that to me is like first steps to toddlerhood. She says a few words already, so she is becoming a little toddler. Each stage has its difficulties that you're ready to be done with. So I do really try and soak everything up. And definitely in the past year, some of my very favourite moments of my whole entire life have happened. Even just, there's times where I've been laid in bed with her and she maybe smiles at me in a way and I'm like, this is bliss. This is absolute bliss. But there's been a lot of the hardest times of my life, definitely. So I'm not going to play that down. Rich has been wonderful and incredible, and something he's done really well is to take off a lot of the the load off me from I'm not doing housework. I'm just not doing it. We do have a nanny, and maybe that's something I should touch on as well, because I had to get one to go back to work, and then I did feel like it was important that I wasn't then going to sack her 2 months later when work didn't work out. But also I knew that if I was going to really go for it with next of kin, and knowing the temperament of Bonnie, that she's not a baby that I can just put down for a nap, like she'll be on me. It does feel funny sometimes that I'm literally employing someone to hold my baby while she naps. But she doesn't always contact nap these days. Still a fair bit, but she doesn't always. But yeah, I knew that I was going to have to keep a nanny for that, and it's something that I still have to grapple with on a daily basis, like how much I'm doing versus her. For me, I'm still doing every bedtime, bath time, every meal. Obviously, I'm breastfeeding, and I do whenever I feel like I'm procrastinating or something in what I'm working on, I just go and play with Bonnie. And that's kind of a rule I've made for myself, is that I don't want to have just been sat here and have someone else looking after Bonnie if I could have gone and looked after her myself, you know? So it's definitely something I'm still getting my head around, and it's something that I know all mums have to think about, whether they're stay-at-home mums and they have no childcare, or they're thinking, should I send them to nursery, nanny? Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's completely universal that whole childcare aspect and the mum guilt, whatever your circumstances, you're probably going to be feeling some mum guilt at some point. So I've probably been talking for about half an hour, and it's probably completely boring to everyone because this is just my experience. But maybe it'll be interesting, I don't know, for the pregnant listeners, or just for people to compare or say, actually, my experience was so different in different ways, or, oh, I had that with my first, but not my second. Or maybe you are still grappling with some things that haven't gone to plan for you. And so I hope you're reassured to know that me, as someone that always really wanted children and had, I don't know, done all my research, it still completely threw my life upside down. Maybe you're at a point now where you're having to go back to work and you're not feeling great about it. And hopefully I can inspire you. I think I can't remember off the top of my head, was it episode 4? Or there's an episode where I do go into some ideas if you do want a career change. But yeah, this has been the maddest, craziest, happiest year of my life that we are drawing to a close as baby Bonnie turns 1. Can't believe that I will no longer have a baby. I will have a toddler. I said to Rich the other day that we're literally like established parents at this point. Like, I know people who are pregnant with their second already. We're still not, we're not there. We're definitely not there, guys. Don't be on baby watch for me. Anyway, next baby to be born is going to be next of kin the brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I don't think I'm going to put a mum lemma out there this week. This is going to be the first birthday special episode, and hopefully I've given you some recommendations and tips as we've gone through. So I'm not going to do those 2 segments that I normally end with. Instead, I'm just going to ask you, please, if you like the show, subscribe and do share. I'd love to grow at this point. I know if you listened to the start of the podcast, the first few episodes, that I was really a bit timid and a bit shy about putting myself out there. But actually now I feel like we've had such amazing guest episodes that I feel really proud of. So please do share with any mum friends or dad friends that you think would enjoy the show. And yeah, follow along on whatever your favourite podcast provider is, and go and follow at nextofkin.ae. Thank you guys. Please tell me. I'd love to hear if there's any similarities in experience for the first year that you've had to what I've just described there. That's it. We did it. We got through. Or, well, I have a week or 10 days left to say that I got through the first year. Woohoo! So guys, have a fantastic week, and next week I have a fantastic episode for you. I've got Leilani from Wildflower Family Coaching coming on the podcast, and we're going to talk all things relationships. So stay tuned, because I've actually already filmed that and it was amazing. It was such a great conversation. Thank you, Leilani. So stay tuned for that. Thanks guys. Have a good week.